Ladies and gentlemen, in 1989, Paul Dudley Walden, commonly known as Guru Josh, proclaimed to the world that the 1990s was time for the guru. I am here with a bunch of chaps to help sort that out because I don't think 1990s was actually time for the guru. It was the time for the grunge. And I've got John from Nirvana Tribute, Jay from UK Foo Fighters, and Mikey and Matt from Outshined. So, hey guys.
Howdy.
Howdy, man.
Good morning from the UK.
Good morning and good evening from us over here on the Gold Coast, us being Mikey and Matty. Guys, I've never done one with the multiple people before, so I'm hoping that it flows well and we don't all talk over each other. But I'm actually going to start first with Jay from UK Foo Fighters and just ask you, how did you get the UK Foo Fighters started?
Oh my gosh. I'm going to try and speak quickly because otherwise it'll drag on. But
we've got time. We've got all the time.
Basically, I started or joined my first covers band in 2004 called Speedster, and we were just playing. We were playing Nirvana, we were playing Foo Fighters, we were playing Green Day, Stereophonics, The Jam, Queens of the Stone Age, and we just developed a following for Foo Fighters. And people would come and say, "Oh, can you play some more Foo Fighters?" So we ended up with maybe 6 or 7 songs in the set list, and this like hardcore group of Foo Fighter fans who would turn up at every local show that we did because we were just playing locally. We weren't traveling. And it was kind of my first band at the age of 35, you know.
Really?
So,
wow.
So
wow.
I was really cutting my teeth on all these songs and getting into amps and, you know, stuff like that. And I remember at the time, the guy who ran this pub in a place where we lived called Harrogate was doing tribute nights. And he said to me, you know, I reckon you could do a Dave Grohl, you know, I reckon you could do it.
Cool.
And, you know, that's a way you can travel. So instead of playing locally, people will be interested in, you know, playing around the country. So I thought, no, bad idea. Dave Grohl, oh my God, you know, he's like a god on stage, a hell of a front man. I went, no chance. And to be honest, at the time, you know, I'm old enough to kind of have a different maybe perspective on tribute. So in 2004, I was thinking, isn't tribute working men's clubs and wigs? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do I really want to do that? So I kind of said, yeah, whatever. And then a couple of months later, I had a guy call me from a festival in North Yorkshire, and he wanted us to headline this festival. And I said, okay, well, Speedster is the name of the band.
Yeah.
And this is what we play. And the guy goes, oh, I think I maybe phoned the wrong guy. I thought you were a Foo Fighters tribute band. Everyone's talking about you. And I said, no, but, you know, I want to headline a festival.
Yeah.
What do we need to do? Well, you need to learn like 14 Foo Fighter songs and come and headline our festival. And that weekend, I'm into American cars, and I went to an American classic car show, and I was thinking, oh, we're going to like, you know, I've got a guy on guitar who looks like George in the Beatles, you know, George Harrison.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how's this going to work? We don't look like the Foo Fighters. But anyway, I said yes. They said, well, what are we going to bill you as? And that weekend I was at a classic car show, and the UK Beach Boys were playing. And I picked up a flyer, and I remember thinking, well, I don't want to have like a cheesy band name. So UK Foo Fighters.
Wow.
And that's how it started. In
You've
2007 was that
2007?
first show. Yeah.
And you've never run into any issues with the name of UK Foo Fighters?
No.
No?
I mean, not really.
They've been cool with it?
The one thing that I can remember was, which we may talk about later if you want to, but when Dave got me on stage to front the Foo Fighters, afterwards he was interviewed in, I think it was in Australia, and someone sent me a clip of him chatting about it. And in fact, it was at the iHeart Music Festival in LA. And he made a comment. He said, yeah, UK Foo Fighters. I mean, couldn't he have thought of a better name? But he doesn't know the story, you know. There wasn't a great deal of thought put into it.
Yeah.
So
Awesome. What a way to get a start,
that's the story.
Cool. How about you, John? How did Nirvana Tribute get a start, mate?
Wow. For me, it was a couple of years after Jay. It was 2009. So I was 27 at the time. And I just decided I wanted to try do the Nirvana thing. But I put a couple of videos up on YouTube first just to kind of gauge people's reactions, just to see what people would say about it, you know, good or bad. And some guys in the States spotted it, and they sent me a message just to see if I'd like to go out and try it with them maybe, and see if we could put something together. They'd already previously done a Nirvana tribute, so we were just looking for a new singer. So I went out to Boston that November. We played our first show. We're in a little place, Worcester, Massachusetts, in a place called the Lucky Dog. I'll never forget it. Oh my God, man, I'll never forget it. I think I threw up when I went outside. It was so hot in the venue.
Really?
So hot.
Wow.
It was like minus temperatures outside. It was like, it was like a nightmare scenario. But the following year, by August 2010, like we were already touring. We were doing European tours, and we got a message asking us if we'd like to do the Matthew Street Festival in Liverpool and close out that. And that was the inner circle was like 60,000 people. It was like 120,000 people in total.
Wow.
So
wow.
in this less than a year after kind of deciding this is what I wanted to do. So kind of happy with the way it turned out, I guess.
Cool. So for both you, John and Jay, are you guys like clean shaven when you do the shows to get the look more like the original guys?
I am.
You are, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Dave hasn't been clean shaven since about 97.
Oh yeah. I guess not. Yeah, you're sporting the mo. I guess he's got like the beard, doesn't he? He's got the...
Yeah, I'm a bit thin, you know.
You Jay goes
L down. Hey? What was that?
You go the opposite to me. I end up growing a beard when I'm not on tour just because I just feels like me then.
Hey, it's Taylor Hawkins in your other band.
Totally. I brought that up the other day. Now, Mikey and Matt. Now, I've played in bands with Mikey since I was 14 years old, so I know a bit about his story. But Mikey, what got Outshined started, man?
Man, honestly, we've only been going since I think we started 2015.
Yeah.
Myself with Matty, a singer Matt, and Matt. And another, Sean as well, Sean Itong. Mm-hmm. We had discussed that doing something similar, a tribute show, for years. I can think back to
mid-2000s.
Yeah, mid-2000s. We'd actually talked about it. I think the catalyst, when Scott Whelan died in 2015, that was the sort of catalyst that I remember talking with Sean and then ringing Matt and going, if you've got time, I think now would be a good time to do what we've always talked about doing. And I think within 18 months, Matt had already played with Josh, a drummer, in another band, and he sort of fitted the bill as well. And that's sort of the catalyst when Scott Whelan passed.
Having the lineup too, like to get a somebody like that can sing Soundgarden stuff and that sort of thing. Like I'd moved to Melbourne and come back, and I was sort of not interested in doing anything too much. Definitely didn't want to do sort of, you know, the covers pub gig thing, because I'd done that for so many years. So I was sick of it. And it was only when, you know, when Matty Boland, who was, you know, was a singer out of Rollerball, which is, you know, one of my favourite singers. He's got a great voice on him. When I found he was, you know, I went, okay, that's it. I'm in. I'll do this one. And the lineup was right, and it just, you know, it's just worked from that point in. Basically, all four of us have been together for that long. We've had, you know, a couple of guitarists step in and step out, Rick included. But I don't blame you for leaving. But it's but you know, it's just getting that lineup and sticking with it has been the main thing. And you know, like I said, if any of these guys leave, I'm out. You know, I'm not there for another one. But yeah, and the other thing too, I think the music taste has changed. Of people, you know, people used to go to the pub and want to see an AC/DC tribute band, but I think the people that are now coming to the pubs want to see the grunge. So there wasn't really an audience for it as far as what we're doing in sort of the mid 2000s, but now people want to see that. So that was the other thing too, and it's been really popular.
Yeah, well, it saved. It's kind of saved me, because I've been playing covers for God knows how long, like 30 years, and you know what it's like having to go through playing the same repertoire over and over and over, the songs that people want to hear. This Outshined is more about playing what we really want to play, what we grew up loving. But you couldn't go and play Man in a Box on a Friday night at the local, and it'd maybe appeal to a couple of people. Whereas now with this show, those bands and that music is why we do what we do. It's a real saving grace for me from playing covers. As much as I love playing covers and doing gigs, you know, weekends, Outshined is something that I've always wanted to do. You don't get a chance to play the material that we do, and I think that's why it's worked for us. You know, we the difference between us and John and Jay is we don't do one band. You know, we cover Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, Nirvana, some Temple of the Dog. It's the core groups of that, and Nirvana. It's the core music from that time that I think that we love.
The only trade-off is we don't do any one of those as good as you guys do yours. That's the only problem.
Well, speaking for you guys in Outshined, I know, as I said, I've played in cover bands on and off with Mikey since I was 14 years old, and a lot of the songs that Outshined are playing is the stuff that I know we like to play. But as we've gotten older, the kids these days that have come through, I shouldn't call them kids, they're sort of young adults these days, don't know that music, and they weren't appreciating it. So it's really good to go out and play some ticketed shows as a group that people are there to see that music and really appreciating it, I think.
And what it is, I think it's the people that listened to that music in the 90s, you know, they all had their kids. Those kids are now 20 and have left home, and these people are back on the loose. They got the time to head out now, and when they head out, they want to listen to the music that they were listening to at that point, where, you know, 10 years ago they wanted AC/DC, where it's now they want this stuff because this is what they grew up on. The kids are now 20, they've moved out, and they can get out again. Absolutely. And they want to see this. Yep.
So, particularly for John and Jay, seeing as you guys do tribute to just one band each in particular, was it hard for you guys to try and take on the style of that artist? And before you guys answer that, I need to point out, I actually played in a tribute band for a few years myself. I was Brian May in a Queen tribute band. So I had to do the learning of how to play the parts. And I would slow down everything and learn to play them at a slow speed and copy the vibrato and everything, and then have it gradually pick up. So then when I got it to speed, all my bends and my vibrato was exactly the same as on the record. And that's how I really got to cop the feel. And I watched all the film clips and knew all of Brian May's moves. Actually, you can probably see a little bucket head up behind me up there that's wearing the wig. That was the wig that I used to wear.
Right.
And so, yeah, I had to learn all the moves and everything. How was that for you guys? I'll start with you, Jay.
Oh man, I actually think that the way it started for me, it was a bit of a rush to learn the songs. And if I look back at when we were playing those songs like 13 years ago, it was bad.
Yeah.
You know, there hadn't been enough thought gone into like, what are we actually playing here? And, you know, and then ability to play, you know, for me was quite a challenge, because even at that time, you know, Dave Grohl was a better guitarist than me. So even though he wasn't doing it, you know, soloing and stuff, he's still like such a musician, you know, musically. It's like, well, you know, you don't just get that, do you? Mm-hmm. I know you get that from crafting your art from the age of 6, you know?
Uh-huh.
Whereas my start with guitars did happen around, you know, age 9, 10, but I moved away from guitar. And, you know, if we talk about the 80s, you could take the piss out of me, you know, because I was into different things. But I guess the answer to that would be that I feel like I'm still learning now.
Okay.
So if I look at the last 5 years, the real break for us happened in 2013 when the O2 Academy Group in the UK, which is a big organisation with venues everywhere, kind of, if you've made it onto that tour, you've kind of made it.
Cool.
And that happened in 2013. And I guess since then, watching the Foo Fighters, and like you just said, Rick, you watch them live. Who's playing what? Which bits are, you know, oh, he's playing it. He's not playing it on open strings, or he is playing it on open strings.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
You know, because a studio recording is impossible to figure out, you know, who's doing what.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I learn a lot from, like, if I'm struggling with a song, I'll go on YouTube and I'll find one of these musicians who knows more than I know, telling everybody how to play it. I'll go, oh my God, yeah, I know how to play it now because this guy in YouTube has shown me how to play it, you know?
Yeah.
And then I'll go and watch Dave, and I'll look for clips of what he's doing. So I would say I'm still learning. But
okay.
For the last 6 years, it's been every month, you know, we learn a song, we follow the album, we get the sound, we take it to the stage, and then we start going, hang on a minute, what are we playing? You know?
Yeah.
How do we take it to the next level?
Okay. How about you, John? Have you had to, you watched all the video clips and you try and mimic the moves, and did you have a voice similar to Kurt before? Or did you have to try and learn to pull off that style of singing?
I guess I want to sing. It's just my voice. I mean, for some things I add extra little inflections in there, you know, just so that it's a little bit closer on certain words and stuff, I guess. But like, I don't know, my guitar playing, my style of play is just directly influenced from Kurt, because I grew up with that stuff. Like, I was fortunate enough when I was 8 years old, somebody handed me Bleach on a cassette, and you know, so I was there, and I was there when it was happening. So I was watching it as it was happening. I was learning as I was watching these things. So it directly influenced me, you know. So I don't know. I don't know if I put so much into it on stage. I just kind of, there's a lot of just me in there, and I'm just having fun a lot of the time. But I guess like Jay said, when you get into things like the O2s and stuff like that, you kind of start realizing you need to tighten up your act a little bit and stuff. You need to kind of have things in order. You know, the show needs to be a Nirvana show rather than just the kind of somewhat experience of kind of seeing Nirvana. It needs to be the Nirvana show, like just much the way it needs to be the Foo Fighters show when Jay is on stage. Kind of, you know, you kind of realize that at the time that things need to evolve. You do need to pay attention to what they did on stage or what they do on stage. Like Jay still, obviously, you still have to learn all the time, because there's constantly new things happening with the Foo Fighters, and Nirvana stopped. They stopped in 1994. So It's only, that's it. Whatever you're going to learn, it's already there. So the only thing that we're thinking of doing now, me, Ali, and Mayano, have been looking at songs that haven't been taken to the stage. In particular, songs that haven't been finished. So like Do Re Mi, which is one of the last songs Kurt really wrote. We're going to finish that as a complete band track to be able to add that into the show. Because people, they don't really have that experience of hearing that song done properly on stage with the full band. So in the Nirvana style. So
Cool.
That's the way we follow.
Yeah. So how about you, Outshined guys? You guys aren't really focused on one particular band. It's more that whole grunge movement, I guess.
Music, yeah, the music of that time. We've picked our favourites. I think we've cherry picked our favourite songs from the albums as much as we can, because there's so much content to draw on. And it really comes down, like, choosing a song list for us is quite difficult, because shows can go for well over 2 hours, and by the time you're coming up to an hour and a half, you're rooted.
Yeah.
Busting for a piss.
Yeah. Well, that's happened a few times. We throw to us like something like Indifference, and Matty will go and shoot off stage for a quick twinkle.
But I think with us is like, basically we've created the band that we want to go to the pub and see. These are the, if I was drinking beers at a pub and there was a band on and they were playing what we were playing, I would be the happiest man in the world.
Cool.
And hopefully they just do it a little bit better. That'd be great. But basically that's the premise behind it. And yeah, as far as we didn't really sort of concentrate on sort of doing one particular, trying to cover one particular artist. We did do some Chris Cornell tribute gigs where we focused a lot on Soundgarden and Temple of the Dog and that sort of thing. But that's probably as close as we've gone to specialising in any one person. I think we just don't look like anyone enough to be able to pull it off convincingly.
Sure.
We sort of consciously did that. Like, we didn't really want to go down, as you see with some of the 80s tributes and that. We really didn't want to go down to the dressing up and trying to look like, because we cover a few bands. We just wanted to concentrate on the music. Again, for us it's more about the music than the visual side of things, and doing a good recreation
and doing it authentically too. Like, especially it's probably somewhere we'll go later, but when it comes to the equipment that we're using, trying to use stuff that was available back in as far as guitar wise, I'm using JCM 800s and that sort of thing. So, and it was all about having it. I want bleed off the stage. I want the amps so people can hear the amps off the stage and all that sort of stuff. Like it was when you used to go back to the pubs and listen to it. Had an energy about it where, these days where everyone's got their Kempers and their Axe effects and everything. It's just so sterile. And that's
it is, isn't it? It is.
We didn't want all the in-ear monitoring and all that stuff. It's just, we wanted to, it's not so much come to see it. It's that night. It's an experience. It's a 90s experience. It's like when you were at a pub in the 90s. That's exactly what it was bloody like. That's what we wanted to try and do.
Yeah.
Nice one.
We never really got over here that many tours from the band, like Alice in Chains, Nirvana. So I know
Foo Fighters.
I think I've seen every Foo Fighters show but one. But we never really got to see bands like that, and we do know that there's an Australian fan base, and that they would love to go and see those or what we're doing, because they never got to see Alice in Chains and hear it live. So it's great to be able to play that type of music in a venue and have people come and enjoy the tunes with us.
Awesome.
I'm thankful every day for it, mate. To be able to get up and play the songs that we're playing. It's great. I love it. A lot of fun.
So how about gear-wise, guys? To all you guys, are you using guitars like the original artists to try and recreate the sounds? Jay, I know you told us a little story about your guitar the other night. Maybe you can share that story again with us.
Yeah,
John, as well, mate. If you any gear that you're using that might be the same as Kurt? But I'll start with you, Jay.
Hey, it's all about the gear, really. When you think visually on stage, because you know, I don't look exactly like Dave Grohl. He's like 2 stone heavier than me. I'm not putting weight on just to look, feel to be a bit bigger, But so yeah, visually, I was thinking I always put a lot of attention into, and so do some of the guys in the band, So collectively, we try to visually make it look like when people arrive, they see a stage with all the gear on it, and they start to get excited about what's going to happen because actually, the gear, So, that development of the walk on stage, like the pre-show, the sort of tunes that you would hear at a stadium show, at a Foo Fighters show, they're the pre-tunes, How does Dave walk on stage? How does all that happen? So it's difficult for John. Obviously, I mean, I've got like the last 15 years of Foo Fighters. Everything changes, So in a way, we have to evolve with them, But gear-wise, I mean, I looked for one of these guitars for a few years. And I was so lucky because I ended up with a guitar that actually is signed by Dave. It says there, "Cheers, Dave." And he gave this guitar to the Edge from U2 around the time it was 2005, Hurricane Katrina, New Orleans flattened. And the Edge decided to do like a memorabilia auction in New York. And I don't know the story. Maybe he rang up Dave and said, "Have you got something that I can, sell to raise money?" But the guy who bought the guitar at that auction ended up putting it up for sale. I don't know, maybe 2010, something like that. And he lived like 40 minutes from where I live.
Wow.
And when I rang him up to say I'm interested in the guitar, I didn't want to tell him what I did because I'd be like, I'm not going to get a deal on this guitar,
Yep.
So I got it, and it came with some pictures of Dave signing it from the auction and stuff. So there's that one, and then before that, when Dave released the album One by One in 2002, he was using a plexiglass guitar.
Yeah.
So that was my first guitar. I haven't got that to hand, so I can't show you that one. And then the Skin and Bones album came out. So one of my heroes from when I was a kid was actually Elvis Presley, and this is an Elvis Presley limited edition dub acoustic guitar.
Oh, wow.
And I'd love to ask Dave, why is he using this guitar when he plays acoustically? Because I see the same little thing on there with the Elvis Presley signature. I've never seen him talk about Elvis Presley,
Wow,
but that's
okay.
the guitar of choice,
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he started using a gold DG. I'm like, I don't want a gold guitar. I don't want one. But he uses that for drop D in the live shows, So I had to get the gold one.
Have you got a red one as well? A red DG?
Yeah, it's actually the last guitar I bought. They did a release of the guitar that Dave uses when he's in the studio, which is like his studio guitar. They released that a few years ago, so I got that as well. But he's not really used that live much. He used it on some BBC Radio Live Lounge stuff a couple of years ago. So, which I got the pleasure of using in the BBC Live Lounge last year. But that's another story. So yeah, no gear, definitely.
How about amps, Jay? Do you use the same amps as Dave Grohl, pedal wise as well?
My pedal board is kind of how Dave's was probably for the last 4 or 5 years. So yeah, my pedal board has evolved from being not looking like Dave's pedal board, but having a few of the pedals on, and then gradually getting closer to it. But it's more about just having the right pedals so you can get the same sound, you know, not appearance, if that makes sense.
Cool.
Amps, around 2012, when it got serious, he was using Mesa Boogie.
Okay.
So I got a Mesa Boogie rig, and even though he's moved away from that now, I think he uses Friedman amps and stuff. I've just stuck with the Mesa Boogie because it's an investment. I've had it 10 years. I don't see a reason to start changing amps. You know, it's, you know.
Mate, if you played a Friedman, you'd understand. I'm a fanboy. I'm a big time fanboy. Love my Friedman amps. How about you, John? Gear wise, mate, you tried to recreate what Kurt was using, or have you gone with your own thing?
Well, I kind of used to stick with my own thing. I used like Jags on stage and Mustangs and stuff, but I had my own kind of custom red for manuals. A couple of years ago, I did a show in Liverpool, and that night the gear was all stolen. So yeah, that was a nightmare. So red was taken forever, along with a Jaguar that was loaned to me at the time, actually.
Oh, no.
So it was heartbreaking. But I'd have to get up to get this, so I can slow back. But then I went with the card guitar.
Oh, cool.
So, and a shout out to Nick Johnson in Wales for sorting me out with this, because I actually sent Nick a message. He was on eBay selling this, and I spotted it in the car on the way back from Liverpool after the theft. And I sent him a message and I said, look, here's the story, man. We played the show last night as part of the tour, and a nightmare happened, a nightmare scenario, and I really need this guitar that you're selling. So he was nice enough to do a deal with me, and he took it down off eBay. Well, cleverly, actually, he said, look, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to agree to this price, and he sold it to me for probably less than he would have got if it went to full auction, if I'm honest. So he was a really nice guy. I think he just wanted to help me out. And he was a Nirvana fan as well, so he wanted to see it go to the band. And yeah, what a great guy. So thank you, Nick. Thank you for that again. Definitely meant a lot to me, man. That's the main guitar that I use, I guess, on stage now all the time. Is that guitar? It's been through some overhauls. It didn't quite start like this, but it's as close as you can get to his now. I can guarantee it. It's closer than the Fender release, as far as I know.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, as regard to the bridge makeup and stuff like that. Then I had a guy in Italy, handbag guitars in Italy, made me this. And
Wow.
Oh, wow.
It isn't worth $6.3 million.
Yeah, I saw that. That was just a few days ago, wasn't it? They sold it.
Yeah, it was bought by the founder of Michael.
Non-American.
Apparently, when they handed him the guitar, he was just shitting brick. You could, you know. So yeah, that's this. This is my main acoustic for all the unplugged stuff. I need to get the cream knobs for it though. Couldn't get the cream knobs anyway. So if anybody out there knows where to get these cream knobs that Kurt had on that guitar, let me know. Send me a message.
Cool.
Do something. Get those knobs. For amplifiers, it's the same as Jay pretty much. It's Kurt went over to Crown amps, and he was using Mesa Boogie preamps and stuff like that. So I didn't go with that. I just went with the dual rectifier. I used that for pretty much everything. And then I used Marshall. I never go past Marshall. So I used Marshall 1968s. And that suits me. The pedal board I've adapted and changed so much over the last while. It's kind of silly. It's not as close to Kurt's as it used to be. It used to replicate Kurt's exactly. the polychorus and stuff, and they weren't really boards. It was just two separate things that I just threw on the floor. But I kind of had enough of those. When I trash things at the end of the show, I just trash generic guitars.
Cool.
Things just tend to slide around the floor a little bit, especially when you've got like two separate boards that aren't really tethered down or anything. They're just like floating around. So now I kind of shrunk everything down to one board that I can put in a bag on my back and take on the planes with me. Because I'm sure, Jay, knows the panic and the pain of trying to get your fucking pedal board there in one piece. The worry of getting to the other side. When I went to do the Australian tour where I met Mike and Matt, I bought a brand new NSP flight case that had my pedal board in it, and I had all my clothes in it as well. And somehow still the airline managed to pierce a massive hole straight through the front of a flight case into the interior area. I don't know how they did this, but yeah, I don't know what to do. I can't remember.
Oh, we're talented down here.
Man, I've seen the way airline the guys the baggage handlers treat gear, and it's not cool. It's not cool.
Yeah. We've been really fortunate a couple of times that we've had people that actually wanted to. They were fans of ours, and people that were going to the shows were baggage handlers. It happened in Slovenia, I think, to me and Ali, where the guy carried out our guitars, and he was just like. So he put him down really gently in front of us. He's like, they have been looking after really well, really well.
That never happens.
Came to the show that night. This was great.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a guitar show, so I'm going to concentrate more on Matty than Mikey with the Outshined here. So, Matty, what are you running, mate? What are you running?
So guitar-wise, and going back to what Jay was saying about his Dave Grohl guitar, I think guitars find people, personally, rather than the other way around. I always played Strats, and a guy I played in a band with, he was a Strat, played in another band, he was always a Strat player, and he said, oh, do you want a Les Paul? And I went, oh, not really. And he said, you should see this one I've got under the bed. So he said he bought it in 1987 from the States, imported it, never played it, and this was 1996. He rolls out Arctic White Les Paul Custom, never been played. And I went, okay, how much do you want for that? And he said, $2,000 Australian, which was about half price. So I went, well, that's got to happen. So I bought that. And that's been my main guitar ever since. So it's now no longer pristine. It's now this is dirty tobacco yellow color, which is just amazing. So guitar-wise, that's what I use there. When we started in this band, I got sick of tuning up and down because some are detuned and some are open tuning. So I thought I'll go and try and find another Les Paul Custom. So I looked on the old Facebook marketplace, and I was going up to the Sunshine Coast for work, and there was a guy advertising one for $2,700, which again is probably about $1,500 cheaper than what they normally go for. So I went up and met him, and he said, if you have a beer for me, I'll give it to you for $2.50. And I went, great, I'll take that. So I ended up with that.
And the beer.
And the beer, which was great. He shouted the beer as well. So yeah, basically Les Paul Customs, one detuned, one standard tuning. They're all down a half step, obviously. And I've also got a gold top 56 historic series that I use for more of the cleaner stuff and the Pearl Jam stuff. So basically, for depending on the music, like for the Soundgarden stuff, I'll use the black one. It's got slightly higher output pickups. For the Stone Temple Pilots and all the stuff that's in standard tuning, I'll use the white one, and I'll use the gold one for things like Pearl Jam and stuff that are more of an open sound, rock sound. So guitar-wise, that's about it. I do have a Strat, but I need Rick to show me how to play that. I haven't really worked that out yet. Amp-wise, like I was saying before, I'm probably a bit different from you guys in that you guys do this professional, and you probably don't want to, you got to be practical about what you do. I'm very impractical about what I do. My whole thing is if I can't play through two Marshall 100-watt stacks, half stacks, I'm not playing. That's my... And I do that for the specific purpose of profiling the gigs, so we don't end up in those shit gigs where you're standing underneath a TV screen in the corner of a pub.
Watching the sound meter.
Yeah,
watching the sound
meter. But basically I run... I've got a Jubilee, a 2555 Marshall Jubilee reissue. I run that. And I've got a Randy Rhoads signature head that I run as well. So obviously the Randy Rhoads signatures through Rivera, Rock Crusher recording attenuator, so it doesn't blow people's heads off. And the Jubilee just runs straight into, and I run 2 Marshall cabinets, one with vintage 30s and one with greenbacks in it. So I was sort of going with that whole Jerry Cantrell thing of having one sort of a thicker sound and one little bit of a brighter sound to sort of play the two. And since I've started using 2 amps many years ago, I find it hard to go back to one now. It just sounds one-dimensional. Where you get 2 in there, it does this thing.
Yeah.
And
Go for the back.
yeah, it's awesome. It's good exercise. It's my exercise. And I have a utility that I have to carry all this around in. And with my pedal board, I've got a Gig Rig Pro 14. So my whole thing is having as clear a signal as I can from the amp from the guitar to the amplifier. So I just basically, the only things in lines are wah and a Digitech whammy that I use for one song once every 6 gigs. And then it goes straight into the Gig Rig Pro 14. So from there I can settle the patches up, and it'll change the channel on Jubilee and cut heads in and out to give me the clean and the crunch sound. But generally it's always 2 amps on and a nice crunchy sound. If I hit the clean, it'll drop 1 amp out and change the Jubilee to a clean sound. But then I come up with this idea that if I plug one of the heads in through one of those tone bone head switches, I can run a 3rd head and use it as a lead as well.
Oh, cool.
Well, so I've got an old 1981 model JCM 800 vertical input thing, so I've got that stuck behind, and I just have that wound up a bit more, so when I hit a lead channel, I'll switch the Jubilee out into that head and give me a bit of a lead boost now. So it's pure piggery and totally
Absolutely.
but it's just, I don't know, it's just one of those things. I quite like it.
It's great.
But,
I love it.
but it's just like I like to set them up just like a nice crunch sound, and for Australian people, like I always listen to Screaming Jets all for one album, and like for my mind it's just like meat and potatoes guitar sound, and that's the basis of the sound I use. I've got a couple of overdrives that I put in. One's like a clone, and they're just going down a little bit of a level boost, and it just gives the amps a little bit of a kick here and there. But other than that, it's pretty much just straight Marshall.
So I remember when I was playing with you thinking, oh, what are you doing? You're running those in stereo or not? But it's interesting. You're actually kicking in an extra. Well, you got 2 most of the time. Pull back to just 1 and change that to a clean channel, and then kick in a 3rd for your solos.
Yeah, well, the 3rd one, because it's one of those radial head, I think they call it a head bone.
Yeah.
So you plug 2 heads into the one cabinet.
Yeah, right.
So when you hit the lead channel, the Gig Rig's got some channel switching outputs. So this will change the head bone, and it'll drop the Jubilee out and put out of the cabinet and put the JCM 800 into the cabinet.
Okay. So it's not like you've got an extra one that kicks in for volume wise. It's switching that out. Yeah.
Pulls one out, puts the other one in. So you can plug 2 heads into the one cabinet basically through this unit. And it's switchable. So so just sort of throw things in and out like that. It sounds complicated, but it's too complicated for me. But I fuck it up all the time beautifully. and then the other good thing is when you've got a 2.5-year-old daughter at home, and she gets in there and starts flicking switches and turning knobs. You never know what the fuck's going to happen. Sorry, James' mum, I swore.
And funnily enough, Matty, when I was playing with you guys, because I saw the rig that you had, and I'd always try and bring something to complement the other player when I play in 2 guitar bands. So I brought my Telecaster. I've got a Richie Kotzen Telecaster back. This is all backwards. That there is my Richie Kotzen Tele. So I was playing that mostly, and just my Friedman small box head straight into a cab with no effects. Because I saw you were like, okay, you're going to go the full, bring everything. I'm going to complement that by just going guitar, cable, head, and just turn my volume down to get a clean sound.
Yeah, that Friedman head of yours has got such a thick sound too. Where I've got a couple of Mesa Boogie dual rectifiers at home too, are great, but they're just a wall of sound. And the thing that Friedman of yours, with it being thicker, and with mine having, a bit more of that Marshall sort of a sound, it really worked quite well. It was a nice balance, I thought. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, guys, maybe not so much the Outshined guys, but for Nirvana Tribute and UK Foo Fighters, I know when I was doing the Brian May thing that people would come up to me and talk to me after the show, and they would talk to me as if I was Brian May. Do you guys get that?
Jay, go.
I would say there's been occasions of that, and the ones that I remember are where there were some people in the audience who'd come to the show and they were clearly, not from. This was in the UK, and they weren't from the UK. In fact, I think it was like 2 or 3 Polish girls, and the command of the English language wasn't that great. And I was like, these are way too excited. Why are they so excited? And then after a while, it was like, okay, someone save me because they think I'm Dave Grohl, So it's happened occasionally, but most of the time, people are just, very complimentary. And I think the one thing I quite like to hear is when they say, we like that. Yeah, I think like John was saying, I maybe phrase things differently so I sound a little bit more like Dave, but then when I'm all out singing, I'm just singing, it's just me. So I quite like it when people say, you guys did an awesome job, but it wasn't cheesy. It was still a rock show, and you guys rock in your own right.
Cool.
That's the best compliment, because I remember for the first few years it was uncomfortable. It was like, oh, why am I doing this? People are expecting me to fill those shoes. And whilst I've got better at filling them, I'm still not Dave Grohl. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
John.
Yeah, for me, man, I don't know. Like, I think it's because Kurt's not with us anymore. There's a little bit more of it, I think from younger people as well, and I think there's a lot of fans from Indonesia and stuff, and we've never played there, but I mean, they're all over our socials. I mean, in their thousands, and they just religiously call me Kurt, and they refuse to call me anything else. And it's kind of like I've given up saying no. Actually, it's John. So I've given up doing that at this point. I mean, at shows it happens as well. I mean, it happens a little bit in the UK, but not as much. Like Jay is kind of probably the same. It's like there's not as much of it. People are a little bit more. It's when you go international, when we go some places, like people are just, it's the first thing they say. Maybe it's because they don't know my actual name. Like, so after the show, they see me and they come running over or whatever, or, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's weird. It's strange. It's definitely strange. It's like I always try to stop people and I'm like, no, definitely not. It's John. Nice to meet you, kind of, rather than. So that's always made me a little bit uncomfortable. But I guess when people come to the shows and stuff, the one thing that I take from it that I like hearing from people is that you get a lot of people that say, my friend brought me, or I wasn't going to come tonight, and I don't really like tribute bands, and I don't normally come to tribute bands, and then they say, but I really enjoyed this, and I guess like Jay as well, it's like when they say I really enjoyed this because in your own right, they seem to be like that when we went to Hong Kong. People just seem they were on a different level. They were like, they understood we're a tribute band, but they still had the same fanatical kind of thing a little bit, but more because we were us. And that was a nice feeling. If you get me, that was a good feeling.
Very cool. Hey, Jay, you got up and sang with Foo Fighters, didn't you?
Yeah, it was 2014. They were in the UK for the first time in 3 years, and they were playing the Invictus Games. There was this story in the news that Prince Harry had phoned up Dave and said, "Will you come and headline my festival?" And so they came to the UK and they did some private shows, like last minute gigs, you know. And we were due to play a place in Brighton called Concord 2. The Foo Fighters had played there before they played Wembley in 2007, 2008. And I kind of wanted to replicate what they did there. So we were replicating and planning to do this show. And the guy who owns the place rang me up. And he said, you can't tell anybody, the world doesn't know, but the Foo Fighters are coming back in about a week's time to play a show here. I mean, you're joking. So here we were recreating what they did from 2008 in that venue. And the guy calls me and says, they're coming back 6 years later. So don't tell anybody, keep it to yourself. Don't even tell the guys in the band, just keep it to yourself. I'll put you on the guest list. Don't worry about tickets. Come down, get there in the afternoon, and I'll see if I can get you to meet the guys and this, that, and the other. So the pre-meet didn't happen, really. I didn't meet Dave before the show because literally the world's press were there. It was like crazy. The venue had like 400 people in, and there were 4,000 people outside just there to hear, you know, the Foo Fighters. So when the band started arriving, we met Pat outside, we met Rami, and we chatted with them, and we chatted with some of the crew. Little did I know that Dave was in the venue looking at our posters on the wall going, oh my God, it's me on the wall, you know? And he was like super excited that we were there. What, they're here in the audience tonight? And the guy who owns the place said, you know, it's Jay's dream to sing with you guys. And, you know, he'd like to meet you, but I appreciate he can't right now because there's too much press and this, that, and the other. So literally he comes out on stage, and I think they did 1 or 2 songs, and he goes, hey guys, there's actually a bit of pressure tonight. We've got the UK Foo Fighters are in the house, and we've been talking backstage going, shit the bed, what if we make a mistake? They're going to be like, nah, that's not how it goes. So he tells this story, he gets me to put my hand up, and the whole place is looking at me, and he's going, are we doing all right? Is this good? And I'm like going, yeah, it's good. Yeah, it was awesome because I was so excited that I was getting to see the Foo Fighters with just 350 people, you know? I mean, the place was off the wall, and I was totally lost, like in the pit, consumed by the fact that A, I was watching the Foo Fighters with 300 people, and B, he just talked about me and my band, you know?
Wow.
I've never heard him talk about Tribute ever. So just that acknowledgement was so exciting. And I just felt like through the first 5 or 6 songs, he was watching me. Mm-hmm. And then he goes at the end of, I can't remember the song he played the end of, but he just points at me and he said, dude, I can't swear, mum. So I won't say exactly what he said, but he said, I want to see what you got. Get your ass up here now.
Cool.
So I got on stage, and
no pressure.
There's just this distortion, and then he turns to Taylor, and bam, white limo. And he looks at me, and he just gestures to the mic, and I'm like, and we were there. And you know, in a way, people say, how did you sing that song? It is like the worst song to sing vocally in terms of the fact that it's just, you know, like noise. It's not even singing.
Wow.
But we just learnt that track, and we opened with it for like the last 5 or 6 shows. So I was like, as soon as I heard it, I was like, yes. Can you imagine if he played something that I wasn't quite hot on? You know?
Yeah. Well,
It could have been a disaster.
maybe that's why he got you for that one, was because he thought, oh, this one's a bit of a challenge. So, and yeah, I could do with a bit of a break. Hey, we'll get Jay up.
And test him at the same time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's absolutely awesome.
What a song.
So I ended up, that moment took us, although we've not done lots of international stuff, that took the band international. I had hundreds and hundreds of messages from people all over the world, diehard Foo Fighter fans. And, that was really humbling, because I always felt like the diehards would be like, oh, go and die, Jay. We don't want to see any of that crap,
Yeah.
But it's not like that. They know I'm a fan. They know what that night meant to me. They could see it, So thanks to, hey, a shout out to the Foo family worldwide. Thanks for believing in tribute.
Nice one. Man, that's awesome. It's funny, as I said, I did the whole Brian May thing for a few years, and I wasn't that big a Queen fan. It wasn't as if, oh, yeah, I'm going to be doing this. I actually met Brian's guitar tech at the last show that Queen ever played before all the stuff went down. And I wasn't overrun with, oh, my God, I'm talking to Pete Melendrone or anything like that. It was just like, oh, okay, mate, how you going? Yeah. So that must be mind-blowing to actually be a real big fan of somebody and get up there and do that kind of thing.
Totally.
I was going to say, John, that there'd be no chance that you'd have any similar experiences because, I mean, Kurt's long gone. Have you ever heard from any of the other ex-members along the way, from Chris or from Dave?
Yeah. Dave, I've heard from Aaron Burkhardt, who was really nice. Aaron's a really good guy. He gave us some really good confidence.
Who's he?
He was the original Nirvana drummer.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, and then it's Chad Channing as well. So those guys, they know of us and know what we do and stuff. And there's a blessing there, I guess. But from Dave, no, and from Chris, no, that would be good. I'd like to have Dave in the background at some point. I'm sure Mariana wouldn't mind handing over his sticks for a song or that opportunity.
I got a question, John.
What's that?
Are you scared of Courtney? Like, do you look over your shoulder? I'll be like, we're the most paranoid man. Don't say the C word.
Well.
Yeah, don't say the words. Jay's mother said we're not allowed to swear.
I mean, there's the obvious conspiracy theories there about Courtney, but it also brings up like copyright issues and stuff as well. Have you guys, any of you, run into issues with infringing trademarks or anything like that along the way?
Hey, listen.
Well, we pay PRS.
What's that, John?
We pay PRS like and stuff. So I mean, we're paying for playing these songs basically in every venue we go to, pretty much. So I think that has to be like that for every tribute now. It's just everybody has to pay back a little bit, I think.
So see, Courtney wins still. She's getting that.
She does a little bit, but I don't know if I don't know if I should say this, right? But I kind of go out of my way to list the songs that I'm listing on there are like the Vaselines, David Bowie's The Man Who Sold the World, and I'm listing bands on there so that they get the royalties.
Yeah,
get the royalties. PRS only want you to list 8 or 10, so.
Okay, cool.
They did a lot of covers, Anna. They did a lot of covers.
Yeah, right. So, Jay, with UK Foo Fighters, no issues along the way with the name or anything, or?
No, not really. I mean, I was telling you guys off air that, I had contact from the Foo Fighters management after the performance with Dave, which was like incredibly complimentary, and, they loved what we were doing. And, they definitely revealed that they have a history of tribute encounter of, varying degrees. And yeah, I guess, like I was telling you guys, at the time I was actually using the FF logo and they said, look, you guys are kind of like quite well known now, and all we want to do is just avoid confusion out there. We don't want confusion. So I just changed our logo and made it our own. So there was no confusion.
Cool.
But the benefit of, you know, awareness of UK Foo Fighters, you know, you only have to search as on Google and put, you know, when are the Foo Fighters next playing in the UK, and you get 3 words that match our band name. So even though it wasn't premeditated, there's definitely been reach because of the band name, you know. As for like PRS, yeah, it's like 150, 200 pounds every single show goes to the Foo Fighters. You know, it'd be great if Dave got like his paycheck every month and went, "Oh, nice one, Jay. Thanks a lot." You know. But I'm not sure it works like that, you know.
Probably gets 80 cents.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, the whole streaming thing. Don't get me started on that. But yeah, he probably makes more out of you than he does from streaming. So people that are watching live, if you do have any questions, please leave them in the chat room, and I'll start going through those to see, just to read off the questions in real time. And I'm going to go back through them now. I did see one before. Go back up to the top here. I saw one from Link. He said, no, too much jibber jabber. When did Mikey become a nun? Mikey, the chair.
Makes it look like a nun.
Thanks for the heads up, guys.
But he also did call you God of Thunder. So,
I saw one on there for me actually about set lists. Do the fans shape your song lists? That's from Big Fella Link.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
So I can answer that one.
Mm.
Do you know what to begin with? Obviously, it's you kind of play the songs that you learn, and then what has generally happened is we've started following what the Foo Fighters are playing as we learn the new songs. Then you've got like the diehards that, you know, they're screaming at Dave and they're holding up signs playing "Please play Enough Space" or "Weenie Beanie" or, you know, stuff. And we like to play those songs. So we kind of started to try and play some old stuff more than Dave, to give people something that they couldn't get from Dave. So that kind of happened. But then you realize that if you're only playing to like 600 or 800 people, that song is not known by 700 of the 800 people in the room. So you could tell in the gig, you know, that there was this drop in energy from the audience when you played something that was a little bit left field. So yeah, in a way, then you end up going, actually, we're not going to play that one again. You know, we made a fan really happy, and I'm sure the guys are as well. You know, it's all about the fans for me. And, you know, if I get any opportunity to do something special for somebody in the audience that night, whether it's a dedication or play a song that, you know, that they've requested, anything like that, it's about engaging with the people in the room, you know. And I always say, when the room starts to light up like a Foo Fighters concert, you know, I always say to people, now it's a Foo Fighters show because of you.
Cool.
You know, because that's true. You know, when they start singing "My Hero," it takes me to being in the audience at a Foo Fighters show, you know, because I've seen them like, I don't know, 15 times. And that is fantastic. It's kind of surreal because I'm stood on stage where Dave stood, but once the audience take off like that, the songs just sing themselves. It's like, it's fantastic. It's so to experience that at this time in life when I should be just taking my daughter to school and preparing pack-ups and mowing the lawn and doing DIY and all that stuff. I'm getting to live my schoolboy dreams, on stage. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. How about you, John? Just to read the question again, do the fans shape your song
Yeah.
lists, or do you stick to a formula that works in general?
I used to stick to a formula. I used to kind of stick to the in utero kind of setup, I guess, like the 1994 tour in around that time. It'd start with like a radio friendly unit shift and stuff. So I kind of kept that setup for years. I just shuffled a few songs around. So people, it got to in the end where, especially when Live and Loud was released on DVD and stuff, that people could kind of predict our show. They kind of knew what was coming next. See, I'd hear people in the front row, like before I played Rate Me or something, like Rate Me, and they're tapping each other like it's coming, you know what I mean? And they knew that. So I'm like, a year ago, me and the guys were talking. I'm like, we're going to have to shuffle the whole set. We're going to have to do something unique and kind of start shifting things around a little bit now. So, yeah, we tried to keep people on their toes. And I think sometimes, because I'm getting a bit older and my eyes are getting bad, I can't see set lists sometimes when I look on the floor. So I just pick something randomly and just go. And the guys are like, all right. And they just go with it. And Ali might stroll across the stage and go, hey, man, you kind of forgot to play Lithium. So our set list, I don't know, man. Our set list now has just become, I don't know, whatever. We try to keep it a little bit fresh. We try to keep it surprising for people. And sometimes it's surprising for ourselves. It just ends up being that way sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How about you guys in Outshined?
We've got ours pretty well set out before we start. A lot of it varies on, obviously, the singer's voice, going into sort of doing Chris Cornell's stuff. You don't want to sort of crack into that too early. But so we'll set out, we do a 2-hour set generally. We've got a couple of songs that have got a pre-recorded intro, so we'll do one of those, like we do Stinkfist, I think. So we do that as the pre-recorded intro, and then we'll go in from there. And we'll just gauge it as we go. We'll come through and judge the energy of the room. If it starts to drop, we'll put something in a bit more, a bit more positive. Because a lot of this stuff sort of starts with guitar. I can sort of, predict the song list before anyone gets a chance to argue with me. So I'll if I think it's dropping a little bit, I'll call out another song and we'll change it around a little bit. Again, so it's a little bit fluid.
Feed off the crowd.
Yeah, it just depends on what the crowd wants to do. But we always generally start and finish at the same places. We always generally start on Stinkfist and finish on Jesus Christ Pose. So everything in the middle's up for grabs, really. And a lot of it will depend on tuning too. So as I'm not swapping guitars around all the time. So we'll bunch the songs together in relation to that and just judge it. But yeah, it's a bit fluid. It generally gets a bit fluid about 2/3 of the way through.
Yeah. It became hard. It became a challenge because Matt and I, we'd sort of discussed the song list a few days beforehand, and late last year I put it out there to just people. I posted the set list and said it's getting really hard to select what to play. What do you guys want to hear? Because there's so much content in there and a limited amount of time that you can play. You want to play your whole list, but I put it out there on our Facebook page and said, what do you guys want to hear on the next show? Because there was, we might have 10 Pearl Jam songs. You can't play them all. So what do you guys want to hear? The Tool stuff, we try to keep, we try to fit it all in. We've recently added some Faith No More. It's fluid. That's the best way to put it. We sort of, again, read the crowd. We can gauge what works. We've all got our favourites that we like to try and get in there. But it does depend. A lot of it depends on Matty as well with his vocals. You try to leave Soundgarden a little bit to a few songs in because it's strain first off. It's a roller coaster, bit of fun. Just see what you feed off the crowd, really.
Cool.
Generally go out pretty hard, and then throw a couple of slow ones in. Pick it back up. You can see how how the crowd responds, you know, and just get off what they're doing.
So there was a question there from Dex, and he wanted to know what Maddie's favourite Nirvana song is to play live. But I'm gonna expand on that a bit.
My favourite, thanks Dex, I really appreciate it. We always have this big argument because Nirvana, although it's a band I like to listen to, it's not a band I particularly enjoy playing so much because I'm too lazy to learn all the intricacies of those guitars. I'd rather leave it to the experts like John. But we actually, I do quite like Territorial Pissings because there's not too much to that. I'm happy with that one. So Dex, Territorial Pissings, mate.
So what is your favourite song, full stop, to play out of you guys' set? For Mikey and Matt, first up.
Oh, I'm easy. I'm Man in a Box is always good for me. I love that song.
I love Alice in Chains, man.
Yeah.
Alice and Stone Temple Pilots. It's hard, even that, you know. Then there's so much great Soundgarden stuff. I love Jeff Ament's bass playing, so it's really hard to.
That's a shit answer, Mike. Just give us one for Christ's sake.
I really like We Die Young, Alice in Chains.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Rusty Cage, we've just started putting that in there. That's becoming a bit of a favourite
That's
too.
a bit of a fave.
Yeah.
Nice.
Just on the pure challenge of the whole thing. But
It's not an easy
yeah.
song
Man
to
in the Box.
play.
I love that song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, John? What's your favourite Nirvana tune to play, mate?
I suppose I like playing Drain You. I mean, Drain You was Kurt's favourite, so it's fun to play for that. I feel like kind of, you know, I get a little bit of a buzz every time I play it, but I do like playing stuff like Negative Creep and that as well. I'm just still buzzing on the fact that Matt just said I was an expert. I've never been called an expert in anything in my life.
And I'll tell you what.
That.
After seeing you guys at that show, I can understand why people think that you're Kurt Cobain. You were channeling that shit. It was scary. It was brilliant.
So
yeah,
good, man.
no, hats off.
Because we've seen the guys play live. We've been in a room and watched the experience. And dude, I walked away from that show in December going, I just saw Nirvana. I mean,
Wow.
I knew it wasn't on stage, but hearing it and seeing John do it, it was just incredible. On a Thursday night, oh, man, it was so worthy.
And all our friends that were there were blown away.
Ugh.
So, yeah, no, amazing.
Next level.
Hats
Next
off to
level.
you guys.
If you haven't seen, if you get the opportunity to see the boys live, don't miss it. I mean, I never saw Nirvana. They were like 2 kilometres away, and I was playing a show when they played here on the Gold Coast. I never got to see that gig, and I kicked myself for years that I went and did a covers band gig when I could have seen them. They weren't, it was before. It was right on the release of Nevermind. Yeah,
I played that show with you, man. We were playing at Club Pacific, and they were across the water. We could see.
See thousands of people just going on. Nirvana supported Violent Femmes at that show. So seeing the guys in Brisbane and hearing it live, it was insane. That's exactly what I hoped. Like sitting there watching those guys, it's like, wow, if that's what I want to get to doing with Outshined, to be able to play that stuff, you cover it so well, so worthy. And I can't wait to see Jay. The same thing. I've watched a lot of their videos and live crowd stuff from the Facebook page. And like one of your early questions was characterizing yourself. Like even if you don't try to do it, Jay, you've got it. You've got the way you've got characteristics of Dave playing, whether it's being done purposely. I don't think it is. I think it's just come through in the way that you play, the way that you sing. I think when I first friended you, I showed Mandy, my wife, a video of you. I think it's shot side of face, and I just said, "Look, that looks and sounds exactly the same. It's so cool. It's good, man." But you guys, Nirvana tribute in Brisbane, that was a highlight of 2019 for me. It was killer night. Yeah, really
Awesome.
cool.
Awesome. So, Jay, how about you, man? What's your favourite Foo Fighters song to play?
I think I'm going to have to answer that with 2 answers. The first one is whenever we perform White Limo, it just takes me back to singing White Limo with Dave. I mean, and the guys. It's weird. Until that point, I used to dream about meeting Dave before a show and getting to know him, and then one day he was going to like get me on stage. And that day I had my guitar with me, and I was wanting to get on stage with my guitar and be the two of us going, you know, and stuff like that. But that didn't happen then. So yeah, White Limo, selfishly, but then really probably Best of You, you know, because it's just such a stadium anthem, and you know, like, God, when he played it at Wembley in 2008 and everyone was singing it back to him, I always kind of have that in my head when the room is, you know, going, whoa,
Wow.
back at us on stage, you know, and it just goes on, and we end up just standing there waiting for the whole room to stop doing what happens at a Foo Fighters stadium show, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So I'm just scanning the questions some more. What did I see there? What does John think of Kurt's guitar coming down under for near 9 mil? Is that what it sold for?
9 million Australian. It was 6.3 million is what it was auctioned for, I think.
Who bought that?
The guy that owns Rode Microphones bought it, Rick.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shit. Just a markup on microphones.
Yeah. Apparently it's going to be toured, and the proceeds are going to the proceeds from, you know, if you go to or pay to go to see the guitar, is going to a charity. So yeah.
Wow.
That's great.
So we're talking about gear before, and Mikey, I'm just looking at your room there, and you got some nice gear behind you there, mate. You got the Ashdown set up and the basses. Give us a bit of a rundown on your gear, mate.
It's nice to have it in here. Like generally it's not here. It's
Fuck off, Matty.
Not here.
Get out of the way.
Not here and set up. Yeah, all Ashdown. I was actually going to ask Jay if the bass player in UK Foo Fighters plays Ashdown. If you've got Ashdown cap, because of Nate. Nate is an Ashdown player. I've got a BTA 400 tube head. It's the big tube amp, which I've only just got in the last few months, and it has blown me away. Pretty much, it's the holy grail for me. Everything that I've had in the last 20 years, 30 years, that blows everything out of the water. I just absolutely love it. So for the rig for Outshined, I run both the cabs, 2 6x10. I have a channel switcher on the floor. So the ABM on this side, I'm using as effect rig. So, and then I'm using the BTAs just clean, just straight in. And yeah, my pedal board runs through the ABM, and that's pretty much my rig.
Nice.
Sorry, this is just like
one
of our gigs. I go to the bathroom when the bass solo's on.
I've got to have quite a big rig to compete with Matt's Marshalls. Otherwise, you don't hear me. Basses, I've had my Stingray for, I think I got it in '89.
That thing's a work of art.
Yeah, it's that's been with me forever. And the last four or 5 years, I've finally got my hands on a Sandberg, which I've wanted for about 10 years. Just didn't have the finances. And in when I got the first one, the blue one just here, within 12 months I'd ordered another one because they are so good. They're such a beautiful bass. Yeah, I've got another Ashdown 600, the Geezer Butler head, just over behind Matty. And then also there's a 300 watt, what is the CTM. So basically, if I had have invested the money in the BTA first, I probably wouldn't have had the other ones, but it sort of went the other way around. I got the ABM, then the CTM, then the Geezer, trying them all out, playing them extensively, and then I finally had a really good option to get the BTA over here in Melbourne. I picked it up for a brilliant price from Bass Workshop down in Melbourne. Hey, Drew, if you're watching. And that straight away is when I played it, plugged it in and played it. It is just the tone that I've been looking for my whole life.
Cool.
Really. Big kudos to Mark and Lee and Dan and everyone at Ashdown. They've been brilliant throughout the last 6-7 years with my gear and helping me out. They've been a great company to be associated with. I was lucky enough to go to NAMM 2018, 2019, and touch base with the guys over there and established a pretty good relationship with them. And Mark's been brilliant. So they've really helped me out with their bass knowledge, and their gear is just incredible.
Nice
So,
one.
yeah, I love my Ashdown gear. I've had a lot of gear over the years, man. Like I've played Galleon, I've played Trace. I've had Trace Elliott rigs back in early 90s. Started on Peavey originally. I've had Ampeg, but yeah, about 6 years ago, I first got an Ashdown quad box, and then I was using a Trace Elliott head then. Someone suggested try the ABM to replace the head, and once I got that, it sort of all became apparent to me. Just love the Ashdown gear.
Nice one. I got just scanning through the questions here. Do you guys feel that tribute shows have affected the original live music scene?
Yeah.
I don't think it has.
Positively or negatively?
Well, the full question is, do you feel tribute shows have affected the original live music scene like the AC/DC Cold Chisel pub days in Australia? That was a different time. That really was. And me and Mikey started playing rock and roll together and at the tail end of that, in 1988 in Australia. And it was a different time where venues, there weren't the noise restrictions that we have now. There was budget for sound guys, and you had these sound guys getting around that had the big PAs and stuff. No, I don't think it's affected it at all. Personally, I don't know what you guys think.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I haven't played original music personally since mid-90s. No, if you love, if you've got a favorite original band, then you're going to go and see them. I don't see how a tribute band being available is something that's going to affect. No, it's crazy.
I think as long as somebody leaves the house and goes and sees a band, I think that's a positive thing, isn't it?
Music.
Yeah.
Cliff Gold totally nailed it here. Pokies killed the band scene in Australia. Poker machines.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm not sure about you guys in the UK.
I think I'll shoot first. I think there's a place for tribute within the music scene. I think it pulls people out that aren't into original bands but get to see original bands. So, like the festivals that we play, that they want to put on a tribute band to headline because people who relate to a big name like Queen or Nirvana or Foo Fighters will come out to watch, that band, but then they get to see original bands. So, I think I think the two work in harmony. If in a way, do we create opportunity for people to see original bands' music? Yeah.
Well, one thing we've done with a majority of our shows the last 18 months is if we have an opportunity for an opener or a support, we will always get a local original band to fill that spot. We'll always have it's an opportunity to get somebody local that we're familiar with, or that someone knows a member of a band, or I was scanning Facebook for tributes. I've even posted on a couple of local music pages that we needed a support. If you keen on doing it, to like original, to contact us, send us your stuff, and we'll we did that on nearly every gig last year. We had a local original act support. So do
you know what, Mikey? That's brilliant, and that is the one thing I wish I could change about the last 10 years, because before every show I get messages galore from original bands saying, we love what you do, can we support you, can we this, can we that? And it's always been difficult because a lot of the venues to survive have had to put on like club nights and DJs after we perform. So gradually our set time, instead of us going on at like 9 o'clock and playing till 11:30, they want us to go on at 8 o'clock or even like 7:30 and play till 10:30, so they can then get rid of the band and put on the club night. So there's never enough time in an evening to put on a support act,
How good is it to get to bed early, though? Gold.
We still stay out till 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Hey.
Oh, I'm out of sleep. Yeah. We do one gig on the coast here. We start at 6 and go to 8 or something, and I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm home in bed by 10.
So just back onto that original band thing, and I was just thinking about it because I go through phases of playing in a million different bands, and there's one band that I play in on and off, a local band called King Mungie. And when we do shows, man, we're playing to a room full of, and it'll be like 10 people.
Yeah.
And you'll be having these multi-band nights, and you'll have, 5 friends of the band from each band come, and there's just fucking no one, right? And then I'm just thinking about when I played, so I was thinking about an original night at the Shark Bar when they had the bands there. Then I thought about playing at the Shark Bar with Outshined when I was playing with you guys. And you guys had 2 support acts, didn't you? Am I thinking right? You had both Moustache of Fire and the Silencio. Yeah. So there was 2 original bands opening for you guys, and that room was absolutely full. So if anything, I'm thinking it was kind of the opposite, where you've actually exposed original music to fans that normally wouldn't have seen them.
That's what we tried to do.
Yeah.
And we have them come multiple times. So like the Silencio is probably the band, the Silencio, they've probably supported us 5 or 6 times. And, the people that come and see us have now got to know those guys and their songs, and, you can hear them yelling out and requesting songs from them when they're playing. And it's pretty cool. I think it does open it up, and they keep coming back and wanting to do it, so they can't be too upset with us.
No.
Mm-hmm. What I want to know is, do you guys have questions for each other?
I've got one for Jay. Like, you obviously seem to, with the Foo Fighters, like you say, you keep up with their set lists and everything. When they start adding multiple band members, do you start shitting yourself and going, Christ, this is less money for me. I now have to have a percussionist, a keyboard, chick on the violin, another guitarist. It's like, you'd be working for nothing.
Do you know what? It's actually probably more about the fact that I bought a 1990 Dodge Ram day van in 2013 to do these tours, because that's what Dave and Kurt went out in. They went out on tour with Nirvana in a white Dodge Ram 1990 or whatever it was. And I thought, I'm into American stuff, so I thought, right, I want to get the Dodge. and that's got 7 seats. So the back seat is like a bench seat. You don't really want to sit 3 guys on there. So it's kind of like a 6-seater. And that is really what's been the decider of like how many people can we have. And one of the guys, Ollie, is like he joined us as a drum tech, and then he started doing some looking after me a bit more, so that we had guitar changes were a bit slicker, and so he's like part of the band, and so he's one of the 6, which leaves 5. So we don't have a Pat Smear in the band. This year we were going to start a theatre tour, which was really taking it to a different place, almost a bit like the bootleg Beatles and that type of thing. And so I was on the verge of recruiting a Pat Smear. And
were you going to do
a harmonica player and a violin? That was all planned.
So like
I'd booked hotels, rooms, everything was prepared, but I hadn't really thought about how they were going to get there yet.
Okay.
And then lockdown came. Sorry.
I did prefer Foo Fighters pre-Pat.
What's that?
I've got a question for both Jay and John. Just with the side of handling promo and tours and booking, have you guys got a team that you work with that does that, or do you maintain it all yourselves? Are you doing everything yourselves, dealing with clients, venues, flights?
On my side, I pretty much deal with everything myself, but I do reach out to and have people reach out to me from agencies and stuff. So like Silverback Touring and Danny Bazzi, shout out to Danny and Rick of Silverback. They were the guys that came to me and approached me about doing an Australian tour, which was the tour that we did in December with, and played with you guys. So yeah, but we will only work, and I will only work with reputable people that I know that are good. They know their job, which Danny and Rick at Silverback very much do. People like that, people like Damir Yankovic and stuff in Slovenia. We work with some good people, but yeah, I'm very wary of who I let into our circle, just because you get burned with past experience and stuff like So I keep my cards very close to my chest nowadays. Yeah. Very close. I look like this.
How long prior to you guys arriving in the country? How long were you booking? Like how far? When did you book the December dates? Was it something that happened fast, or was it?
I think me and Danny started speaking maybe 2 or 3 months before it happened, because we didn't have, maybe a little bit longer actually, maybe 4 to 6 months, because I remember we were going into December, we weren't sure what we were initially going to do. We didn't know if we wanted to go away for a tour that, so close to Christmas and stuff, especially. But I don't know, everything seemed to line up a little bit as well, because we were at the tail end of our tour. We had these shows that we were kind of able to walk off of those onto the Australian tour, and it just kind of made sense. It just made sense. So and the guys just promoted the life out of that tour for. I don't know. I mean, you guys did as well. You guys promoted the absolute life.
We got in trouble for that.
We promoted the wrong link.
Yeah, we got. I think I received I did. We did as much as we possibly could, and at the end, I think it was the day before the gig. I got a message from Danny saying, "You guys haven't done enough. The ticket sales are bad," and it's like we went in feeling so deflated, and then to have the Thursday night turn out, it was almost sold out in that room.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I think the promo worked. I don't think we had a ball. I mean,
where we got in trouble was there was a couple of links, and we were supposed to push people to our link. So as when they bought tickets through us, it was registered through us. And we didn't. We pushed the main Silverback one. and so everyone bought tickets through the main Silverback one. So when we got there, we knew a heap of people there that had come to see us, and they're like up us because we'd sold 11 tickets or something. They're like, "You've only sold 11 tickets." But we looked at, there was probably about, I don't know, 50 or 60 people we knew there. Well, all these are familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be nightmarish. I actually got Jay's link wrong in my post yesterday, and it was Mike that came to the rescue.
Yeah.
Mike was like, "Oh, no."
Now we're wary on post.
Yeah, we're very aware of it now. But when he first reached out to us, they mentioned there was a possibility of doing the whole run with you guys, and we put our hands up. But as it eventuated, they'd selected another local tribute in another local band in each state. The first few emails was like, I hope we can do the whole show.
I think that was again about giving local bands the opportunity. I think kind of like Andy wanted to do that as well. He wanted to give some local people the opportunity, and I guess that goes back to the last one.
Yeah,
Giving people opportunity, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah.
So just talking about the tour that you guys did, John, did you bring your own backline gear for that, or did you just bring guitars and pedals and just use rental gear?
I brought NSP flight case full of pedals and clothing, and I brought a guitar. I didn't bring a guitar to smash. I was actually Artist Guitars in Australia. Shout out to you too, because they supplied me with 4 guitars to smash the shit out of. So.
Cool.
Man, I've got footage of you from side of stage, and you've got this guitar, and there's rafters up above the stage, and I'm seeing you're trying to throw the guitar up over the rafters so the cable comes down on the other side. That was so cool.
I wanted to climb up, but I couldn't.
Yeah, man. It was awesome.
But yeah, I went over for that tour. I didn't bring a whole hell of a lot. There was small amounts of gear, really. When we got off the other side and the guys were collecting us, they were just like, "Whoa, you travel really light, don't you?" No amps, no nothing. It was just us and some instruments, and that was basically it. So
hey, when you run you were playing a Mesa Boogie that night, do you run through the clean channel and just put your pedals through that, or do you use the gain stage?
No, I just use the clean. I could use a single if I wanted to. Could use a single. It's just in case like one of the channels goes funky or something like that. It just makes sense. You know what I mean? But I just run it clean. I thought
that's what you were doing. Yeah, I was just looking at it because the sounds, again, very authentic in the way it was running.
Yeah, I use a Moore, and I've got it in front of me actually. It's a 011. It's like a preamp pedal, so if something really, really goes wrong, I can feed this into the desk. Yeah. And it will give me the same. It will give at least the audience the same vibe of the Mesa. It's basically like a Mesa clone in a preamp. So that thing has kind of come to my rescue once or twice actually. But yeah, it works really well. So I just feed that into the desk. The same thing. I just run it clean. Just gives me what I need.
Is that what Kurt did? Did he just run clean amps with distortion pedals?
Yeah, just a tiny little bit of gain. You just want a tiny little bit of dirt, but that's it. It's mostly clean.
He used to run a Crown power amp, didn't he? He was more of a PA amp than a guitar amp, wasn't it?
A Crown power amp and a Mesa preamp that ran into that.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, it's the same. So I'm kind of going through the same vibe, but I'm not religiously following it anymore. I used to use, as I said, the same type of pedals he used as well. But over years of touring and going on international tours, you bring in your shit in suitcases and it's getting crushed and squashed and whatever. I won't name the company, but certain pedals that are made of just tin boxes, they don't hold up. They just get flattened, and it just happens over time and stuff like that. So I think I go for resiliency and stuff like that when I buy stuff nowadays. Definitely, I don't try to stay religiously true anymore.
Well, I guess a lot of people wouldn't know what Kurt was using. Well, Matty did. I got to say, when I was doing the Brian May thing, I was using a Kemper. Not at the very start, but about 6 months into it, I got a Kemper, and I would run that into cabs. But we'd have AC30s backline because people wanted to see the AC30s, Brian May. This wall of them, and it got to the point where I didn't even run through those anymore. I was just running through the PA, through the wedges, and just we had a really good monitor guy that would follow me around the stage. If I ran over that side, monitor-wise, he'd turn me up, and the monitor's over there. And
My God.
the monitor guy we had was with In Excess and Jimmy Barnes and big Australian artists like that for many years. So really knew his shit. So having Phil Kadira at your side is freaking awesome, I got to say. Do you guys ever wear in-ear monitors or anything like that when you guys are playing live?
Yeah, I moved to in-ears about maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I hated it. It was horrible. Another new learning curve, and obviously once you know what ambient mics are, you know, then you can't live without them, because I hated that detachment from the room, you know. But once with a bit of ambient, then it's fixed, you know.
Yep.
So yeah, I wouldn't turn back. Also, my ears were starting to suffer, and I knew as well when I watched back some live recordings that I was starting to sing a bit flat against a wall of sound. So you know, people were like, "Oh, it was awesome," and I was like watching it back afterwards, thinking like, "Oh no, I'm off key here slightly," you know, by half a tone or something. And the in-ears just fixed that because I had complete control, you know.
Do you have do you guys have, when you're playing UK shows, do you have specific production companies that are familiar with the acts? Do you use them continually, or do you have monitor guys, front of house guys that you work with regularly?
It's always been suggested, but I've got 6 seats and a trailer with all the gear in. So I kind of took the view that, you know, it's the Foo Fighters, you know? So I just wanted to keep it raw and not get into too much, you know, overproduction and stuff, and just you know, plug in and
are you guys
go for
required
it.
to supply production on your show, like, or are you playing rooms that it's already all set up? You walk in on the stages, production in-house with
Oh yeah, literally, I would say since
that's the big difference.
2013, it's all been in-house stuff, and you know, people like to save money out there, and I don't like to cut corners and stuff. So I always ask for a monitor engineer, front of house, and lighting. So at least 3 people for the show, and then we give them their cues and make sure that everything's as we want it to be. You know, yeah, all right. It's not. We don't have that relationship, so it's a little bit of a journey. You know, sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not so great. But you know, once it's stage time, it's all about the audience, and it's not quite right. It's not quite right.
The reason I touched on that subject is probably 80% of the shows that we've played in the last 2 years, production is required. So we basically have 2 production companies that we work with. Most rooms that we play don't have systems, so we have to have the system. We have to supply the system, supply the engineers. So the budget, you know, it really does cut into the budget when you've got those sort of overheads as well. Obviously, John, or both of you guys, when you're touring around the country, you're not going to be lugging your own system or setting it up. So it's a little bit different out here, with our experience anyway. Not so much. I guess it depends on the rooms that you're playing.
So I just checking out the questions there, folks. If you do have any questions, now's the time to throw some into the chat room, because I'm going to round things up. We're coming up to that 2-hour mark. But we have one there from Epic Angel Girl. Anyone have a special standout favorite moment from a show that made you feel like, yeah, this is why I'm doing it all?
Yeah, we went up to Cairns, and it was an interesting room. It was sort of a room where it had sold out. Basically, we got up there, and just an hour before, there was a queue around the corner, like it would be at a normal concert. We're like, what the f- is this going on?
Wow.
And anyway, the whole place packed in, and it was a funny room. There was this area where the stage was, which had an elevated ceiling. Then the ceiling sort of dropped down a little bit, and there was one guy in the room. He must have been like 7 foot, like and about 150 kilos. And then 3/4 of the way through the floor, he started punching holes in the ceiling.
No way!
and it was the weirdest gig too, because they had one of the the crash barriers that they have where you stand on the the aluminium crash barrier. It had that in front of us, and they had the crash barrier, and then they got the platform where the people stand on to put the weight on the barrier. The security wouldn't even let the people stand on that section of it.
So there was a meter between. There was about half a meter between the edge of the stage and the barrier, and then the security guard made the punters, the crowd, stand back a meter from
the edge of the barrier.
The edge of the barrier.
That's stupid.
And then there was this gorilla punching holes in the ceiling, and I went, "That's it, we've made it." And the security just looked at him because he was 150 kilos, and they were going to mess with him.
I'm not going to touch that.
How about you, John?
Me, goddamn. Man, I feel grateful. I feel like I've kind of made it every time. I throw myself off the stage a lot, right? So every time people don't let me hit the ground, every time I climb a lighting rig or a speaker stack, or sometimes jump out of the balcony and people don't let me splat on the floor, I feel I pretty much made it. Like, they think I'm important enough. That's pretty much it. I'm happy enough with that. I'm happy enough with. I will say it briefly, right? So, Matthew Street Festival, that huge festival thing that really launched the band and kind of got our name around a lot. We used to be under a different name then, but it definitely got the reputation of the band around a lot. It was the end of that show. I remember the DJ or the host, dude. He was some guy off the radio, and he was so confused because I was like, they weren't expecting me to do it. I brought a guitar to smash it up because I wasn't going to stand there in front of like 120,000 people and not smash the shit out of an electric guitar. So like I was throwing the thing in the air, and the guy was like, "Ladies and gentlemen, Nirvana!" And he's like getting more and more confused because I'm not stopping. I'm like smashing the fuck out of this thing, and it's not breaking. So I just thought, well, what will Kurt do, right? I'm out of time here. So I was like, Reading 1992. So I walked down, jumped off the stage, got towards the crowd, and gave them the guitar still plugged in. And that moment, when I got back a little bit up onto the stage and I was looking at it, I was just like, dude, this is like crazy, chaotic shit. Like, I was like, yeah, man, I think we've accomplished what we set out to do here.
Awesome.
So, yeah, that's me.
Very cool. Very cool.
That's
How about you,
rock
Jay?
and roll.
How about you, Jay?
Oh man, we're celebrating, or I've been posting this last few days. 5 years ago this week, the Foo Fighters was supposed to play Wembley, and Dave had been playing in Sweden, and he fell off stage, and he broke his leg, and it was like the week before, everyone was waiting. Is Dave going to make it to Wembley, or is he not going to make it? And the announcement came out to say that Wembley was cancelled. And I got this call from a guy who runs a charity called Given to Live, and he helps like the disadvantaged and the terminally ill get to see their heroes. And he set up a battle of the bands next door in the shadows of Wembley Stadium, and he was planning to raise money, and the Foo Fighters cancelled the gig, so it was all off. And he messaged me and he said, "Hey Jay, do you want to play Wembley?" So I rang him up and said, "Do I want to play Wembley? What are you talking about?" Anyway, it wasn't Wembley Stadium, but it was in the shadows of Wembley Stadium. So I tweeted, and because it was only like 6 months after the exposure of performing with Dave. So, you know, the NME, Classic Rock Magazine, all these people who interviewed me after that clearly must have been following my Twitter feed or something. And I put this post out saying, hey, who wants to come to a Foo Fighters show if we play Wembley for the 2 nights they were supposed to play Wembley? And
Cool.
so we announced it to play in the shadows of Wembley Stadium. And the NME and I think Rolling Stone magazine, they went, hey guys, have you got tickets to see the Foo Fighters in Wembley? But it's off. Go see the UK Foo Fighters.
Oh,
So we
cool.
did.
Oh shit!
We did the Friday and the Saturday night to Foo Fighter fans in London from all over the world. We sold out the room, which was like 3,000 or 4,000 people for both nights. Honestly, it was crazy.
I've watched the video of My Hero. You guys doing My Hero that night? That's insane.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
So that is what we're celebrating now. It's been 5 years since we did those 2 shows, and then we did one in Edinburgh as well because they cancelled Murrayfield as well. Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Brilliant.
Wow.
Brilliant.
Any standout shows for you, Mikey and Matt?
Shark Bar. We had the one that you played, Shark Bar, the Chris Cornell tribute that we did. That was great. That was really a lot of fun. It's pretty much our home venue, really. The Shark Bar always was pretty special to us. And that was almost capacity that night. And it was only a few hundred people, but that was pretty special. And the other Gold Coast one that we played, RSL Club Southport, that was pretty special. That was a May 18th gig the following year for a Chris Cornell tribute as well. Both those, I think more so with RSL Club Southport was because it's a premier room with a kick-ass system in it.
That rig is just bullshit, man. That rig.
Yeah, it was a really great setup in there. And any gig that we get to meet people and have a great time playing. Yeah, the last couple of years for us has been brilliant, man. As I said right at the start, just so thankful that I'm getting to play this music that I've loved from being a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Enough of all this happy shit. What about your worst gig ever?
I reckon my most embarrassing worst gig ever, was the last one I did with Killer Queen the Queen tribute show. And I got video of that, and I'm sure, Mikey, I've shown you that. We're talking about in-ear monitors. Our singer, who wasn't the best singer, he looked like Freddie Mercury, but wasn't that much chop as a singer. But he normally would wear in-ear monitors, and he didn't wear them that night for some reason. And we played this huge festival. People as far as you could see, man. Like, I got the footage. And he just couldn't pick what key to sing the song. It was just... I showed people the video, and they're just like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, I'm that serious. I resigned the next day. It was that bad. That's my worst gig ever.
Oh, shit.
I reserve.
That's it. That's it. Rick's answered that one. That's your question, Rick.
I haven't had a worse gig yet.
I have.
Not with this band.
I did with this one.
I've had plenty with Remedy, but not with Outshined.
We did an outdoor, sort of like a big day out sort of a thing, a 90s theme, big day out. So we were the grunge component of that. So we got there early, sound checked and everything, had my pedal board out, had my amps turned on, everything's ready to go. And in between acts, they had these DJs, these hype up guys getting around, getting everyone going. There's probably, I don't know, what happened, 5,000 or 6,000 people at this place. And anyway, I've got my amps turned on, ready to go. And about 10 seconds before we're due to go on, there's just this hell noise coming out of my amp setup. And I, what the fuck's that? So I turn all the standbys off, and the DJ comes, oh, you accidentally jumped on your pedal board.
Oh.
And what he did was, I had one of those the gig rig loop with the loopers in it. He jumped on the end and snapped the end of it off. So that was the output of all of my effects gone. So I spent the rest of the gig basically in between trying to pull an individual pedal off and rebuild the pedal board off the pedal board every time I this song, and I have to do that. And look, it was an absolute shocker. It was the worst gig I've ever played in my life, and it actually hurts a little for me to talk about it. I don't even know why I brought the subject up. And if that DJ guy wasn't about 6'6", I would have kicked him in the fucking balls.
If anybody has any other questions, speak now or forever hold your peace, because I think it's about time to wrap things up with the boys. There is about a 10 or 15 second delay, so I'm just going to talk nonsense until that comes and see if anybody leaves anything there, but I think we've pretty much done it. You guys got any more questions for each other?
Oh, man. Have you guys always had the same members in the band? Like John, has Ali and Moyano been with you how long?
Ali and Moyano have been with me what seems like forever now. I took like a year off. I was with different guys before when this all kicked off, and I took like a year off. I needed to go and sort myself out, and I did that in the end. I was a terrible alcoholic and stuff, and so I went and I sorted my drug and my drink shit out over that year and a half or whatever. And when I came back, I needed some good people, and I found lucky to find Ali and lucky to find Moyano. And they're the same guys that are with me in Freaks Like Me now as well. So that's another thing. Freaks Like Me, Spotify, go and listen to our record on there through Sony. Thank you very much.
What's that? Is that an original? Is that your original group?
Yeah, original. Freaks Like Me. The record is called Philosophies for the Modern, and it's an EP. There's only like 5 or 6 tracks on there, but we released it through Sony a few years ago. But Ali and Moyano are in that project with me now, so we're kind of looking towards maybe getting a new record deal, releasing a new record. You know, just putting that out there.
There you go. Cool. How about you, Jay? Do you do any original music?
Do you know what? The answer to that is no, until recent weeks. And I've been spending quite a lot of time. I never really wanted to get into understanding, Logic and Pro Tools, but I've had some time to do it recently. So I've started learning how to record, and honestly, I wish I could just stay at home for the rest of my life, apart from traveling and stuff, because it's been really enjoyable, just to I've realized that I can definitely write some stuff, and I can feel the influence of Nirvana, of the Beatles, of Green Day, Offspring, Foo Fighters, so watch this space.
Nice one.
But I'll have a plug, actually, as we're into like the closing minutes. We had the awesome opportunity to record in the BBC Live Lounge studio in November last year.
Cool.
And one of the questions we spoke about earlier, which I didn't answer, was about promo. And if it is all about promo, it is all about promo. And I'm always pushing for, like, how can we go to the next level? How do you get a tribute band into a place like where the BBC Live Lounge operate from? So I started making inquiries 2 years ago, and I ended up speaking to the guys there, and they remembered me, and they needed a band. So this is the Foo Fighters Concrete and Gold album. And when we were in there, I decided that we'd do something similar with a different logo there. So we decided to put the session to vinyl, which went on sale about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So we did like a double album thing. That's me
Cool.
with the guy there. And we just had time. We literally had time to do exactly what a big band would do on a live session. And we did. We decided to do some Foo Fighters songs, and then we'd been playing AC/DC, Let There Be RAWK, because Dave's been playing that with the shows. So we did that on there, and that's my favourite one. That's like, I don't have to sound like anybody. It's just AC/DC.
Nice.
Go for it, you know?
Yeah.
So that's my little plug. That's on sale on our website at ukfoofighters.co.uk.
There you go. Nice one. So speaking of plugs, I better give myself a plug for anybody that's been watching. Please like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. I could really do some more subscriptions on my channel. I've been doing a lot of really cool content of late. And so every one of those little like, subscribe, and notification bell things goes a long way. So please do.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. Thanks, Mike, for making it happen. And it's great to meet you, Matt and John. John, we need to hook up.
We do. We've never met each other, but I figured out what it was. We played the Waterfront in Norwich on the same night.
We did.
We did. You were downstairs. I was upstairs.
Did you have a stand-in drummer that night? Did you have Adam Breeze?
Breezy was in that night. He was. Hi, Adam. If you're watching, you, man.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, man.
I know Adam. Yeah.
You guys out afterwards, but I didn't stick around. I didn't stick around to come and say hello. But we'll do this. We must do this. We must do this.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
And I need to get to Australia.
Yes, you do.
Man, the Gold Coast
Yeah.
looks like a place I need to go on vacation. You know.
We've got plenty of backline here for you. You'll be fine.
That's it.
Ah, yeah.
Guitars.
Now that's the only way it's going to happen, because Australia is a long way away, and I've got other shit going on in my life. So to go on tour and drop the wife and child is not that easy. So, but a holiday with a guitar and a guys and a back line and a set list with like, ooh, let's do a few Foo Fighters songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the answer.
We've had people post on the page about doing Foo Fighters tracks, like songs in our set list. They're definitely 90s. Maybe we should do it. Chuck a Philly song in there.
Awesome.
Post grunge.
Well, chaps, again, I want to thank you. I'm going to hit my little button that gives me a little applause sound. Yay! You guys can't hear that, but I can, and the people at home can. So thank you very much. As usual, I'm going to hit my little end screen to round it off. It's right here. It's right here. It's right here. It's right here.
See you guys.
See you, gents. Great to meet you.
Thanks.
Bye.